So now our next speaker coming up, an important guest who represents a relatively new partnership for the Big I. I've been working with him and others with Project CAP. And Project CAP is here. We've been preparing to open the consumer online rating portal on trustedchoice.com. And actually South Carolina now is one of the third or fourth, I guess, I don't know if Georgia got it right ahead of us, but we'll claim third place right now on having online rating up. So Marty Agather is the Senior Vice President of Sales at Project CAP and works to help independent insurance agents develop a strategic plan to grow their business. He travels around the country educating agents on the benefits of Project CAP and helps them get started. But he's not just some technology geek. I didn't write that, Marty. I don't know where that came from. Before branching off into digital marketing and technology, he spent 10 years working in an independent insurance agency. If that's not enough, he also holds the CPCU and ARM designations. So he speaks our language. That's what we're trying to say. He's from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Please welcome Marty Agather.
Thanks, Frank. Thank you. I'm going to turn this off so that we don't get some crosstalk. Good morning. How is everybody today? Good. Well, I'm really happy to be here with you. I've been doing this for quite a while, probably on the road for 2.5 years, and I've been out there saying it's coming, and finally we are here, so that's really great. I'm going to go through, but before I really get started, I guess some of you in the audience, this Project CAP might be a little bit new, so I want to talk at least at a very high level about why Project CAP exists. Probably 6 or 8 years ago, the Big I of New York identified that market share was continuing to decrease in personal lines for the independent channel. And they decided that they needed to do something, but as they looked at this problem, what they figured out was this was bigger than New York's problem. It was a problem for the entire country. And so they handed it off to ACT, and some of you may or may not be familiar with ACT. ACT is the Agents Council on Technology. It's another unit of the Big I, and it's a bunch of volunteers, and I've been involved in that for probably the last 15 or more years. But ACT said, and there's carrier representatives and there's agency representatives come in from all over the country. We meet 3 times a year. But unfortunately, that project was too big for them because they're volunteers, they've got full-time jobs they need to go back to, so they kicked it back to National. Ultimately, National asked us to get involved, and so for the last 3 years, we've been trying to put this together. We've got 6 insurance companies that have invested in the initiative, and the initial portion of the project was what we call CAP, the Consumer Agent Portal. It's a way to address the new shopping behaviors of the insurance consumer that goes online first to research anything, whether it's a book you want to read, a car you want to buy, or an insurance policy you're interested, and then connect them with the independent channel. So CAP itself, the portal, which is where we're going to spend most of our time today talking, is a facility that's designed to reach out to the public, allow them to get a comparative quote from independent agency companies, and then be directed to an independent agency for business. So, I see I've got to figure out how to run a remote. I'm a tech guy, right? So, as I said, there are 2 sides to Project CAP. And on the left-hand side is the portal, and that's the orange, and on the right-hand side is what we call Project CAP marketing. So the portal itself, where we're going to spend most of our time today, as I said, is a facility. It resides at trustedchoice.com, and we've rebranded that site. We're going to go through today to show you exactly some of the look and feel, but essentially what we're now doing is we're trying to take Trusted Choice and make that become a brand that unifies us as an industry. So if you go away with nothing today other than Project CAP is something I need to get a little bit more interested in, right, or do a little bit of investigation on, a more important thing to understand is Trusted Choice is the brand of this industry, and we need to go out there and co-brand. This is not an attempt to rebrand your agency as something different. What we want you to do is use that Trusted Choice logo right here in conjunction with everything you do so that our customers begin to understand that we are not individual agencies located in their hometown, but that agency, your agency, and your insurance company is part of a much larger whole. We are the biggest distribution system out there, but the consumer does not see that. The other piece of this is ProjectCapMarketing.com. And that is where we as industry professionals go. So when you go to ProjectCapMarketing.com and you sign up for an account and you give us some information, we're going to go into that in more detail here in a minute. What that does is that's connected via the database layer, which is represented by the blue bar down at the bottom, and that communicates with TrustedChoice.com. So we've got one way in for the industry professionals, we've got another way in for the consumers. Together, that whole thing, including that bottom bar, which is that database and the very specific intelligence that we are getting out of that. What are consumers doing? How do agencies respond? All of that data is being collected and then being shared back with the industry. So, ProjectCapMarketing.com, we have two focuses to Project Cap. I said first is the consumer portal. That's where we're going to spend most of our time today. But in addition, we also have this other component that is what we call our digital marketing services. The portal itself is an industry-wide, nationwide platform designed for all agencies and independent agency carriers to work together. Digital marketing services are those things which your agency or your insurance company can specifically work with Project Cap to deliver benefits to your company or agency only. So if you need a new website, if you want to purchase multiple packages for your best agents, we can do that for you in digital marketing services. What we are doing is we are contracting with some of the biggest and most powerful vendors in the insurance vertical, but also outside the insurance vertical in digital marketing to provide best-of-breed solutions to our agency and carrier partners. So we have divided them up into three areas: search, site, and social, right? So search is how do I get found in a search? And we talked a little bit about this in the digital marketing seminar yesterday, but if you're familiar, one of the easiest ways is Google is now trying to provide local services when that makes sense. If I'm going to buy a digital download of a book, do I really care where that comes from? Does it have to come from my town, or can it come from, Atlanta or California for that matter? No, it doesn't matter. The flip side of that is if I want flowers, chances are pretty good I want to get that locally. So Google has developed this thing called Google Local. It's gone through a number of name changes, but now it's called Google Plus Business. And the whole idea is when you search for things, and insurance is one of these things that's beginning to be seen as a local service that is provided, the map will come up. If you've ever searched for a restaurant, the map comes up with the little pink salmon-colored pins. That's Google Local. So if your agency right now is not listed in Google Local, that is one of the things that you should go home, research, and do. If you don't want to research and do it, we can do it for you, but this isn't a sales pitch. So that's critical because it's the easiest way for your agency to get to page one of a Google search. Only 1/3 of consumers ever go beyond page one of a search to see what's on page two. So if you are not on page one, you do not exist as a business for 2/3 of consumers who are looking for the service you provide. So you've got to get to page one, all right? Our social media products are designed to help you be out and about in this new creature we call social media, and then obviously we can help you build out your website, improve it. This is a somewhat complicated graph. I've got it up here because many people go, oh man, I don't know about digital marketing and I don't know how to do this. This is a graph from Blumenthal, but the critical piece here is what he says is, if you don't have the core of your business done correctly, you shouldn't be out on the periphery, right? So one of these out here on the very outside, Facebook ads. Well, if you haven't figured out in the center there what your business name, your domain name, your phone number, and you don't have that unified all across the web, you have no business playing with Facebook ads because you haven't set up your foundation correctly, okay? So this is sort of a roadmap on how to go. We've got social on one side, we've got the web search on the other. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the portal. So that's digital marketing services. Those are the things we do to help you individually. This is now we're talking about the industry initiative as founded by the National Big I. So what we know is most people, unlike us who are insurance geeks, right, and technology geeks, they don't live for insurance. They only want to deal with it when stuff renews, right? So they're ignoring it until they've got a reason to shop, and they go to Google, okay? We know that almost 70% of consumers now start shopping with an online quote. So we get a lot of questions about, well, why is quote part of the process? Doesn't that commoditize insurance? To some degree, it does. We know that. But we also know that there are significant differences between policy forms and the effort that our carrier partners go to build quality products for our clients, right? And we want to be able to describe those things. But the flip side of that is, if we're not in the ballpark to start with, nobody wants to have a conversation with us. So we've got to prove to them first that we're competitive. Then we get, and what we're going to try to do, and as we'll see through the slideshow, we try to move the discussion away from price and back to the things that we do best. Okay? We offer you a choice. What's critical to you? Do you want somebody who speaks a foreign language? Are you interested in off-site service? Do you want a mobile app? That's how we begin to differentiate which agency, right? So 80% of those consumers, they'll go offline to shop. So actually buying coverage, and that's what we're driving at. Okay, and we know that most offline buyers go to their local agent. 57% of them face-to-face, all right? Another 30% are on the phone. This is a slide that came out of a McKinsey study. This is not the McKinsey study that just came out in about the last month that created a bunch of stink about how independent agencies are sort of going to be out of business. Some of you may have seen that. Bob Rusbolt had some very specific comments where he didn't agree with this. But what I want, the reason that this slide is here is I want to show you why and how the purchase process starts. If we start in the outer ring and we look at consider, right? So this is where I'm beginning to do some research. So I'm now going to go out and figure out what I want to do. I then begin to evaluate my options. And when I talk about digitally marketing your products online, we are not talking about trying to get the consumer to buy based on what's online. What we want the consumer to do is to understand why you're differentiated, why you are different than your competitors, and to get you on the short list so when they get to this evaluation phase, they decide that they want to talk to you. Let's think about that for a second. The difference between, hi, do you want to buy, versus, hello, I've got questions, I've done some research, and I'd like to understand how you can help me, right? When we flip that paradigm, we create a completely different result. We are looked at as the expert that can help the person who has a problem, and that's what we're trying to do. So now we're in the evaluation phase, we make a buying decision. If our experience is good, now we're circling on the bottom, we become an advocate for the products we buy. Right? How many people have bought something and they write a review about it? It's all over the internet. And now we go to the inside circle, and now you begin to look at what you did, and you bond and you buy. And so once you get to that inside circle, you've got an advocate for you who now is beginning to help you market your product out to the get your message out to the market. When we talk about who we're trying to influence with this, we know we've got 4 key categories. We are targeting standard preferred and ultra preferred customers. The intent of Project CAP is not to get a mono line. Sorry, you App State guys, and congratulations, thanks for being here. It's not to get a single 21-year-old kid with a Corvette, right? That's not who we believe is our marketplace. We want white picket fence, 2 cars, a dog, 3 kids. So that's where we're marketing our message. You'll see some of this in a minute. We know that captive agency customers are ripe for the picking. Why? Because they've already seen the value in having an agent representative, an expert that can help them. But there are times, particularly after a claim, when a captive agency carrier is unavailable to help that customer. That's when we can step in. We also know that there are those people who have been direct channel shoppers but who have outgrown that. They've gotten to a point in their life where they've got more assets and they begin to realize maybe I need a professional in here. And then finally, life events. As things change, it gives us an opportunity to move to new people. These are some of the ways that we're working to drive traffic to trustedchoice.com. We cannot compete with the direct carriers and the captive agency carriers due to marketing budget. Between the top 4 of our competitors, State Farm, Allstate, Progressive Direct, and Geico, between those 4, they spend $2.2 billion a year in marketing. That's why every game that you watch has one of those advertisers, right? They're everywhere. The story I tell is my dad, former agent, is now retired. He spends the summer at our summer cabin up in northern Minnesota. I was looking at something he'd gotten from the post office. Lives in Florida in the winter, comes to Minnesota in the summer. There was a Geico ad on his change of address form from the U.S. Postal Service. All right? These guys are everywhere. All right? So we don't have the budget to fight that. So what we're doing is we're using some of these other techniques, right? So we've got some digital advertising, so those could be banner ads. We've got paid search, where we actually will show up. I'm going to show you some of the outbound marketing we're doing, some social media stuff. This is what's happened. You see the gap, month 0 in the middle there. That's where we went from the old Trusted Choice to the new Trusted Choice. And what we did was we focused very specifically on a content strategy. So when Google, so how many people have done a Google search and it's, you get page 1 and it says of 5 million results or something, right? So how does Google figure out who should be at the top of that list? Well, if you look at the screen, at the top there's 3 ads generally if there's enough money there. Insurance happens to be the most expensive word on the internet. Okay, so there's 3 ads at the top, there's ads down the right-hand side, but then there's 10 spots in the middle that we call organic results. How does Google figure out how those 10 things get there? Okay? What they are trying to do is, Google's job is to get paid by advertisers, but more importantly to give us, the searchers, the best results possible. So the way they do that is they look at the words you've typed into the search bar and they scan through literally millions of documents and they say which of the documents, which of the web pages that are out there matches the searcher's intent. All right? So what we have done is when we published the new TrustedChoice.com, we published 750 pages of content, all consumer focused, all designed to use the words of the consumer when they're looking for insurance. So what you are seeing now is this is the traffic that is coming to TrustedChoice.com. The one short bar, row 9 there, is Labor Day weekend. Okay? This is the keywords that we're searching. Again, down at the left-hand side is before we launched the site. And now what you can see is the green bar is overall keywords. We're tracking 10,000 keywords. We're now up to 3,000 keywords. So some of those keywords are simple, like auto insurance. Some are very long tail, like auto insurance, Columbia, South Carolina, right? Toyota, Camry insurance, Columbia, South Carolina. So we're now tracking, and what you can see is in the blue bars are home and the red bars are auto. Auto and home are the toughest words because there's the most competition for those words, but we're getting there. Now, same graph, look at it a different way. This is where did we show up in a Google search in terms of position on the page. So if the red bars represent the search terms, and this is total keywords that we're tracking, the red bar says we're between position 100, which is page 10, and position 40, the bottom of page 4. Orange is pages 4 and 3. Yellow is page 2. Light green is positions 10 through 4 on page 1. And the dark green, which you can see in the last column, is positions 1 through 3. Okay? We know that if you're on page 1, you will get clicks from consumers. The higher you are on page 1, the more clicks you get. The real money is in positions 1 through 3. So what we are seeing here, so this is total keywords, okay? Here's auto insurance, and you can see our performance is a little tougher, okay? Here's homeowners insurance. But what we are seeing is we are trending, and what we are working to do is get more and more of our pages into that green section, because that means when a consumer goes out there, they're going to see trustedchoice.com. And ultimately, that will bring clicks into the website. So this is some mailings that we just started doing a test mailing, and I'm not going to go through all of these in detail, but we've identified 3 demographic segments, right? We've identified young people, no children, but have good incomes. We've identified middle families, young families, and we've got people who are retired with significant assets. What the box on the right says is, here's the people that we're targeting this email, and then we have 2 different subject lines, so we're A/B testing. The beauty of the internet is we can test everything. So one of these subject lines says, insurance tailored precisely for you, and the next one says, savings service coverage tailored precisely. And we're seeing which of them get opened more frequently. And then this is the ad, or this is the email that's behind that subject line. So we've got a data services provider that has a list of 150-some million people across the U.S. who've agreed to accept emails. We did this campaign in Minnesota, and Minnesota and Indiana were the first 2 states we went live, and Georgia and South Carolina went live together, so you are in third, all right? We tested this a week or 2 ago in Indiana and Minnesota, and so these would be the ads that we see. So, okay, so now here's one that's more focused at families, right? And we've got what are you protecting what matters most, and insurance tailored precisely for your family, okay? We've got this one. This one's going to all 3 groups, okay? And so what you can see, now this one's targeted more at a youthful operator, right? Aren't you glad you went with grown-up insurance? So the whole idea is these things are targeted to appeal to specific people. Now what we saw was we got almost 10% opens across all of these ads in this test that went out to 50,000 buyers, okay? So another one. So at this point now, so that's how we're getting traffic to the portal. Now what are we going to do when traffic gets here? And so now I believe we've got this video that we've started a couple of times, and we should be ready to go. I'll dance while we wait.
Welcome to TrustedChoice.com. The coverage you want, the savings you need. A Trusted Choice agent can shop hundreds of insurance companies to offer choice, savings, and value tailored precisely for you. It's insurance made easy. Connecting consumers and agents. Consumers shop online, then buy from a local agent. The new TrustedChoice.com portal explains the advantages of an independent agent to consumers. It is a one-stop shop for consumers to get insurance quotes from multiple insurance companies for home, auto, or package, all in one place. Consumers will also find answers to their insurance questions and, best of all, connect with local agencies. So how do you get consumers to view your agency? It's simple. Create your agency profile at projectcatmarketing.com. Once you have completed your consumer portal registration and have filled out all of the mandatory fields, simply save and publish. Your agency will now show up for consumers in search results. A consumer then visits trustedchoice.com. They use the Get a Quote feature by entering their zip code, selecting a product, and clicking Go. The consumer clicks the Sign Up Now link and enters their information. They enter their name, email, password, phone number, and zip code. This registration allows the consumer to access their information at any time to see an existing quote or to start a new one without having to enter their information again. Getting the quote. The consumer answers questions relative to the types of insurance coverage they are looking for to start the quote process. The consumer enters all of the information needed to ensure they receive the most accurate quotes possible. If you go to traditional insurance websites like Geico or State Farm, you get one quote from one insurance company. But if you go to TrustedChoice.com, you only have to enter your information once and you will get multiple quotes from multiple insurance agencies. After they have completed the questions, they are then invited to share a little bit more information to indicate what types of insurance they are looking for and the services that they find important in an agency. They are then able to view premiums from multiple carriers and compare premium coverages. Once they select the carrier, the consumer chooses the agency that best represents their insurance needs. When the consumer selects the agency they would like to contact, they click Contact Agency, and an email notification is sent directly to the agency. The consumer is taken to the agency profile page, which contains all of the contact information and more for that particular agency. This allows the consumer to contact the agency immediately. The information about the consumer is sent to the agency, and the agent receives an instant notification of a new lead. The agency receives the email and clicks the link to access the information in the Prospect Center. The agent is able to view the quote information that was entered by the consumer and has a view of all of the quotes received. We have successfully connected the consumer and agent. Learn more at projectcapmarketing.com.
So as I said, our primary goal with the entire Project Cap project, whether it's digital marketing services or the portal, is to connect you to that new consumer, right? Our job is not to bind insurance. We are not insurance experts, even though we are certainly of the insurance perspective. We know that what you need to do is what's right for your customer. So the whole idea is to connect you to that consumer and give you an opportunity to do what you do best, which is mitigate their risk. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through sort of what the process is. So we've either done a find an agent or we've done a quote, and now we're looking, and these are the listings of those agencies who have registered to participate on projectcapmarketing.com. They get a much fuller profile. We'll see in 1 second. If you don't sign up, you're still, because you are a Big I member, you are still listed in our directory. However, you don't have nearly the rich profile that these agencies do because you haven't spent the time to give us that information. So this is a listing in the zip code 32025. Here's the Wheeler agency. And now what we're going to do is, we're looking at their agency profile. This is the data they've given us. I bet you that's a laser, maybe? No. We've got some text that talks about trust and why you're using us, and then we've got specific information next to the people there that they have written. It's their branding statement. It's what defines that agency as different. So this is the generic thing. You can see we've got office hours here, right? So again, we're beginning to differentiate. If the consumer wants to see an agency that is open on Saturdays, if you put that there's Saturday hours, that's one of the selection boxes they can say is, I have a job where I can't talk insurance during the business day. Give me one with extended hours. Okay? This agency actually has used one of our optional features and embedded a YouTube video that starts with a trusted choice overview and then goes to the agency principal, John Wheeler, where he talks about how they've been in North Florida for 25 years. Okay? This is testimonials from their clients. Okay? One of the biggest things now when we shop is we want to know, are there other people who have used this and did they like it, right? The amazing thing is that Amazon says that a book with 2 bad reviews and no other reviews will sell better than a book that has no reviews. Because at the very least you can say, well, that guy said he didn't like it because of this reason, but that's not the kind of person I am, right? So again, another huge tip. If you are not getting reviews now from your customers, you should be. And we've all got them on our walls, right? The problem is nobody's coming into the office anymore. These are now the walls of your office. So you need these on your Google Plus profile. You need them here, all right? So testimonials. The next one is what types of insurance do they cover. So here you can see what lines of business they write, the insurance companies they represent. Again, giving the consumer an option of why they should do business with you. Here's the staff of this agency. Okay? And then we've got a map that takes you there. So, and now here where we are is this is the last agency that filled out their profile for us. And now we're going to all trusted choice agents in your area. And you can see the difference between a profile for an agency that didn't fill anything out versus the one right above it that did. So this is where it's critical. Now, you're displayed down here, but when we think about consumer behavior, which of those two agencies are they going to be more drawn to? The one that's got more detail, because they can now do an analysis. Does this agency fit who I am and where I want to go? As of today, we've got about 1,300 agencies who've signed up nationwide. Your staff right here and your leadership, volunteer leadership in South Carolina, has done a fabulous job. You guys are ahead of the targets that we set out for participation. But those are just the initial targets. What we want is we want every single member to be registered, because when consumers start using this facility very frequently, we want your agency displayed. All right? So, the model today, the way the model works, it costs you $1 thin to get signed up on the portal. That's just so we've got a credit card number, an ACH account. At present, every time a consumer chooses, so we saw the consumer go through, the consumer says, I want to work with agency A. That consumer now is linked to agency A and only agency A. That is an exclusive prospect for that agency. We do not give that information to anyone other than the agency they pick. If the consumer doesn't pick an agency, we don't bother the consumer. Why? Because we're generating trust. We are not like all those other places where you give somebody an email address and you get besieged, right? This is an essential link to connect your specific agency with that specific customer and allow you to transact business. The model today is when the consumer picks your agency, that is a $15 charge to your agency. All right? For that prospect, exclusive prospect. This is something we're working on at the request of the association executives across the country, and we are talking now about providing the free level, which would have no charge for search leads. If someone, and you wanted to stay at the free level and you wanted to get people who'd gotten quotes, that would still be the $15 charge. That's the only charge that there would be. We also would have a premium level that would be, you get more features, and it's a subscription. It's just like LinkedIn. I've got a LinkedIn profile, I don't pay. My neighbor has a LinkedIn profile, he pays for the subscription fee and gets more things. And then we would have a super premium level, premium plus, that would have a number of additional options, and it would cost more as a monthly subscription. So if you are interested and you want to sign up, you're going to go to projectcapmarketing.com. There's a sign up button right there. I've circled it in green. That's on page 1. It will then take you to the trustedchoice.com page and you say sign up. All right? And if you want to write these things down, if you want to see that video, the one we just watched, this is a bit.ly link, which is a shortened thing so that I don't have to give you a long strain. It's http://bit.ly/14B, and that's confusing. It's 2 small V's, VVE9. And then if you want a walkthrough of the sign-up process, that's there as well. So I'm at the end of my time. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the investor carriers who've put a ton of money, time, and effort behind this. We've got Safeco, we've got Selective Insurance, State Auto, Westfield Companies, Central Companies, and Main Street America. We announced 2 weeks ago at the Big I meeting down in San Antonio that we have also signed now. Progressive Insurance has signed up for their independent agency channel product, and Maine Mutual, a small regional in the Northeast. So these carriers, if you represent these carriers, please thank them. They have spent time and effort getting us to this point. They are putting their resources behind the independent channel, and we thank them for that. And I've got time for questions if we have any. Yes, sir. Sure.
Can we get you on a mic?
Is there any way that the information will actually bridge over into an agency management system?
Great question. So his question is, we've got all this data, right? So the consumer has now given us the data for their quote, homeowners or auto. Do we have a way to get that to the management system? At present, when you set up your profile, you tell us what management system you're running and if indeed you're running a comparative rating product. At present, we do not have a bridge, but that is, we're building a specification and working with the vendors to create that so that you don't have to rekey that data. So the whole idea is once that data, and I did not say this before, so thank you for reminding me. Once that consumer is working with your agency, there is no requirement that you place the consumer with one of the carriers that's on the portal. Okay? That discussion, that risk management assessment that you're doing for that consumer is designed to do the best thing for the consumer, whether that's a portal participant or not. So the whole idea is you may need very well to get that data into your management system and or comparative rater, because you may have a different carrier that you want to work with to appropriately address that consumer's needs. Thank you. Next.
Next question is, when the consumer fills out the information, the form goes to multiple agencies or one agency?
Perfect. The consumer fills out that information and they can then examine different agencies, but until they push the button that says contact agency, that data goes nowhere. It just sits in our database. But then when they say contact this specific agency, then we don't actually send you that data because of the security issues associated with that. We send you an email saying you've got a prospect, Marty Agather, come to Project Cap Marketing and get the data. So, but it's exclusive to that agency that they picked.
Okay, and then the final thing I saw was the Premium and Premium Plus has a click-to-chat feature. Who monitors the click-to-chat feature?
So so we are looking at I mentioned our digital marketing services and how we're kind of looking at best-of-breed products. We're talking to a click-to-chat vendor that has a facility that you can put your click-to-chat profile on your Facebook page, on your LinkedIn profile, and so anywhere you are, and online or offline, it recognizes your status and will either send it potentially to your mobile device or to you if you're at your PC in your office. So that client would be subscribed, and I'm not sure if I answered your question because... Okay, all right. So the concept of click to chat, this is a key issue. When I first got involved in this, I was working with the big eye, Madeline Flanagan, you saw her in the video earlier, said, well, Marty, if you want to learn a little bit about digital marketing, you should talk to Nibby Priest. And Nibby Priest is an agent in Henderson, Kentucky, small town. Nibby's agency is probably 5 or 6 people. When I went to Nibby's website and found it, they actually had click to chat. Okay, so click to chat is if you're not familiar with it, it's a very, very powerful feature that allows you to have an interactive conversation with a consumer, sort of masking any of that, here's my email address and all that stuff, right? So it's an innocuous way for you to stay in contact with that customer. So we believe click to chat is a very, it's growing in influence and is going to be a very, very good way to have a discussion with an insured and or a prospect as we move forward. So that's one of the things we're talking about giving you access to. Sure.
Okay, I'm a consumer shopping on the internet on Trusted Choice, and I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina. There's 2 agents come up, CWS and Corel. I push the button that says CWS contact me. Can I do the same thing to Corel? Will my lead be sent twice? Or am I
you can. We have intentionally not made it easy to do that, so you'd actually have to invoke another find an agent so we just don't say, click this one and then here's the list, click another one. So we actually take you out of that workflow, but there is no prohibition on doing that.
Okay, when the companies come up, first, correct? Okay, so like if they click on selective, if there's not an agent for selective, it's not going to appear below for that area?
So there are two ways we display. Initially, we show all of the comparative quotes, and we show all of the agencies that fit. So the agency actually, I'm sorry, the consumer, we went through it pretty fast, but the consumer actually in the video makes some selections. First they say, what type of insurance are you looking for? And if they're in the quote process, we know what they've quoted, but we give them an opportunity to say, I also want power sports and I want business insurance. And then we ask them, what are you interested in? What discounts might you apply for? Multi-car, home and auto. And then we say, what are you looking for in an agent? So they may say, I want an agent who speaks Spanish, and that agency may be listed even though they represent none of the carriers that are displayed. But when all of the carriers are displayed, we show every agency that matches the criteria. Then when you highlight a specific carrier, that list gets filtered and just shows agencies that represent that carrier.
And the other question is the homeowners product. Right now, this is just for auto. When do they look at rolling out homeowners also?
Actually, we are quoting homeowners today as well.
Okay.
So, yes.
I won't make her run, I can talk loud.
Sure, and I'll repeat it.
We're webcasting. We want our webcast audience to hear.
Thank you. With the homeowners, that brings up a separate issue with coastal property concerns. How are you addressing, or are you filtering by zip code for coastal property?
Sure. We, in the long-term development guideline, blueprint, we have identified that we need to do on the front end a much better job of underwriting, but at present we do no underwriting. So we didn't really get into at all how our process works, but when you saw in the video when we're doing rating, we have put the EasyLinks WebSetter has a comparative rater that some of you may use in your office. We have put that online. And so the way that product works is we take the data, we take the common data elements for every carrier that's quoting in a state, we take those data elements, we ask those questions to the consumer. When the consumer says, okay, I'm ready, I've answered all the questions, we then do a technical connection through the back end using EasyLinks to the insurance company's systems. So if the insurance company's systems is doing underwriting for wind exposure and those kind of things, and they say we're not going to quote for this specific area, then they will not return a quote to us. But we are not sophisticated enough to do that. So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the time. As I said, your executive team and your association have done a great job working on your behalf. We're very happy to be here live and looking forward to a successful launch. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks very much.
And you're going to need to turn this mic back on.